Hi, thank you all so much for coming today. I'm Susannah Holloway. My name is Sussannah. My last name is Holloway, Holloway. I have Anita Bruno and Katherine Quinn, Quinn, Bruno, Bruno, with me today. We are here because I wrote a petition to the Attorney General asking that he bring more serious charges to reflect the very serious attack that Sergeant Hanley perpetrated on Mr. Gore, April 19, 2020. I wrote a petition, and Anita and Katherine have helped me circulate it. We put it online. We have gone around to people's houses and gathered signatures on paper. And today we have 155 signatures of Rhode Island residents who are also joining with us to petition the Attorney General to bring serious charges against Sergeant Hanley. The Attorney General has only charged Sergeant Hanley with a mere misdemeanor, simple assault for Sergeant Hanley's premeditated, vicious attack on Mr. Gore, which encompassed Sergeant Hanley forcibly restraining Mr. Gore, dragging him from his car, beating him, handcuffing him, and kicking him in the head as he lay helpless on the pavement and unable to protect his head or defend himself. This is an outrage. This is a travesty that our Attorney General can only see a simple misdemeanor assault charge in all of this violence perpetrated in the name of the state with the power of the state behind that police boot that kicked Mr. Gore in the head. And our Attorney General only sees a simple misdemeanor assault. I believe there may well be not only felony charges here at the state level, but also federal crimes which have been committed. We are here in front of the John Brown House to begin our walk to the AG's office to demand that the laws be applied equally to all and that Sergeant Hanley be properly prosecuted. We ask that the Attorney General seriously consider stopping right now, taking a pause where this case is going to trial on Wednesday. The Attorney General needs to stop right now and reconsider the charges. We ask the Attorney General to seriously consider charging Sergeant Hanley with felonies for beating Mr. Gore and for forcibly restraining him against his will. And if not, we ask that we be told why. This mansion we stand in front of was built by John Brown, the man who, as a corrupt United States congressman, started a long Rhode Island tradition of ignoring federal laws in order to perpetuate a system of slavery, which was absolute systemic racism. That's what we're still fighting today, racism, and all the officials who perpetuate it by ignoring the law. With a mere misdemeanor simple assault charge against Sergeant Hanley, this is just another example of Rhode Island's long tradition of ignoring our laws, state and federal, to perpetuate a system of racism. People of color being dragged from their cars and beaten by the police for no apparent reason and with no serious consequences to the police officers is a system of racism. Applying our laws can stop it. We have laws in this state and in this country which make it illegal for police officers to rough up peaceful citizens of color just to intimidate them. But our Attorney General, Peter Neronha, appears to be ignoring those laws, and we ask him why. We have felony assault in Rhode Island. According to our Rhode Island Supreme Court, that involves kicks to the head. And in this case, there are serious circumstances which would elevate this felony assault to a felony because Mr. Gore was handcuffed and because it was a police boot that was kicking him in the head. And that's clearly what happened in the video. And it's a federal crime for police officers to deprive citizens of their constitutional rights, like their rights not to be grabbed, not to be dragged from their cars, not to be handcuffed for no reason, and not to be kicked in the head. Each and every one of us holds these constitutional rights to free speech, to liberty, and to freedom from search and seizure in our own bodies. Depriving one of us of these constitutional rights is a strike against our Constitution. Our Attorney General has sworn to uphold our Constitution. We would like him to get to work on it. And white people have these rights, these constitutional rights in our persons, and black people have these rights to the constitutional rights of liberty in their persons as well. Why was this vicious, premeditated beating not a felony? Why was dragging him from his car, restraining him, and beating him for no apparent reason not a federal crime when it was done by police officers? So let's walk down Power Street to the Attorney General's office and remember that our power comes from our powers to petition and to vote. Petitioning and voting can be peaceful protests against systemic racism. We voted for Peter Neronha. We voted for him to properly prosecute all criminals, including police officers, when they commit crimes. We voted for him to uphold our laws and to uphold our Constitution. We voted for him. But right now, we are petitioning him. We are petitioning him to stand up against racism. We are asking him to properly prosecute Sergeant Hanley or explain to us why he can't or won't.
Thank you, Susannah.
Tell us your name.
My name's Katherine Quinn. I can't see. My name's Katherine Quinn, Katherenequinn.
You all from Barrington?
Yes, sir.
I was born and raised in Providence, but I live in Barrington now.
Okay. Well, I saw the church, so.
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to say thank you to Susie for putting together this incredible petition and offering her legal understanding that we might not personally have. I personally don't have. And I want to thank you guys for coming out on this beautiful day to Providence, Rhode Island. Let's see, I'm going to start my statement with a question. The question is, what is the connection between Derek Chauvin and Joseph Hanley? I'm sure that there are many connections between these two men. They are both police officers. They are both men, which means that they are both somebody's son. I'm sure that the list is long about what draws them together, but today I want to focus on just one similarity. Derek Chauvin had a long history of complaints of excessive use of force prior to murdering George Floyd. His policing was characterized as callous, heartless, and simply over the top. Derek Chauvin was never held accountable for these actions, and not surprisingly, his behavior left unchecked escalated, culminating in the public execution of George Floyd. George Floyd, also somebody's son, a father, an American, and a valued member of his community. Now, finally, Derek Chauvin's previous victims are being called to testify against him to establish that there was a clear trail of breadcrumbs leading directly to the moment where he knelt on Mr. Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, depriving him of oxygen, while Mr. Floyd begged for mercy? Where were the people in power who had the opportunity to address this issue before it resulted in George Floyd's death? And in retrospect, do these people regret not having addressed Chauvin's misconduct before it resulted in this tragedy? I don't know the answer to the first question, but I'm confident that there are many regrets among those who could have intervened earlier and did not. Here and now in our state of Rhode Island, Sergeant Joseph Hanley has exhibited the same qualities of heartlessness, callousness, and excessive use of force. Today, we call on Attorney General Peter Neronha to take action on behalf of our community, to protect us from a clear and imminent danger. We ask the Attorney General to hold Sergeant Hanley accountable for his actions, which have been recorded and reported. Specifically, and with legal precedent, we ask that the Attorney General charge Sergeant Hanley with felony assault. We have collected signatures from voters all across Rhode Island who ask the same. And today, we will deliver our petition to the Attorney General in person. We implore our Attorney General, Peter Neronha, to take action now rather than later.
Good afternoon. My name is Anita Bruno, A-N-I-T-A. I just want to state that where I understand that fights happen, and I understand that situations escalate to physical altercation, and we cannot charge every physical altercation with a felony. But this physical altercation is different. This physical altercation was perpetuated by a police officer that is trained in martial arts, a police officer that is trained in defense, a police officer that is trained as a weapon of violence. And therefore, that's what makes this physical altercation different from a normal physical altercation. The fact that the officer is trained, to me, is what constitutes the severity of the crime. This police officer is a dangerous weapon and should be charged for the atrocity that he committed, knowing of his own abilities, knowing of his training, knowing that the man that he was beating was already handcuffed on the ground as he was beating him, is what perpetuates this crime to a felony, as I understand it.
Can you close the loop here for me, and respectfully, what's your interest in the case?
I'm a citizen and resident of Rhode Island. I'm a citizen of the United States of America, and we have to work every single day to uphold our Constitution. The beating of Mr. Gore was a serious violation by the police who represent the state, seriously depriving him of his constitutional rights, his rights to free speech, his rights to liberty, his right to be free from a seizure without due process of law. These are serious rights, and we hold these rights in our bodies, but we see them evidenced in the way we treat each other. And when we see the state violating constitutional rights, we have to step in. And that's why we elected the Attorney General. He is the one who steps in and says, no, this is wrong. And he prosecutes properly so everybody gets the message. And so everybody can understand this is extreme violence by the state, and this violates our Constitution. That's why I'm concerned.
Are you officers in the church?
We brought the signs because we have individuals who signed the petition, as well as some groups of concerned citizens have supported the petition as a group. Those groups have also written letters to the Attorney General, which we're presenting today. So the Barrington Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, their Mission and Justice Committee has supported the petition. Also, The executive committee of the Rhode Island Association of the Southern New England Conference of the United Church of Christ. They have also signed the petition and support it, and they are submitting a letter to the Attorney General as well. Also, I've been told this morning by the Episcopal Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Rhode Island, Bishop Nisley, that the cathedral will also be supporting the petition. That will probably come in tomorrow, as well as the Center for Reconciliation. We also have Barrington Interfaith Partners, which is a group of citizens in Barrington from all different houses of worship, and we have adopted the petition and we support it as well. I am part of that group.
Have you reached out to the Attorney General otherwise prior to this, or?
Yes. We've also reached out.
Tell us if you would.
Well, I was just gonna.
Well, I haven't.
I was just gonna say that we've reached out to. I am a resident of a lifelong resident of Rhode Island. I was born and raised here. I'm raising my children here, and I'm a sentient human being with a soul, and that's why I'm interested in this. My question is, how many people have seen the footage? I would like to know how many people have seen the footage of what happened, because once you see the footage of Sergeant Hanley's outrageous, violent, excessive use of force against Rashad Gore, there's really no question as to why are you interested, really, because it's appalling, and our state and our city is lucky that we didn't have another George Floyd incident on our hands. I've reached out to elected officials who have reached out to the Attorney General, and they have received letters, emails, responses from the Attorney General stating very clearly that this doesn't qualify in his mind as a felony assault, and a list of reasons why. And having taken all of those things into consideration and run them by people who have more knowledge of the law than I do or we do, we are nonetheless petitioning the Attorney General to do this. I want to throw out one example, which is, I don't know if you guys remember Amy Klobuchar's political ambitions to be the president or perhaps the vice president. And I'm not sure if most people are aware of the reason why that her political ambitions did not actualize. The reason why her political ambitions did not actualize, one of them, was because Derek Chauvin was a police officer when she was the prosecuting attorney, and she neglected to prosecute him on at least 8 occasions that he was charged with excessive use of force. And so now, after the fact, George Floyd is murdered in front of everybody, and everybody in the nation is surprised and shocked, but guess who wasn't shocked? Amy Klobuchar. Guess who was upset that she hadn't done the right thing when she could have? Amy Klobuchar. That's what Peter Neronha right now, that's the position he's in. We're asking him as a human being, first of all, to do the right thing. It has legal precedent, and in addition, if he has any ambitions of serving our community or aspiring in his political career to any degree, he needs to take care of this now, instead of after the fact, when he can look back and say, I really should have done something.
Last question. You had suggested there may be federal charges attendant to this. What do you see that being? You're not lawyers, are you?
I have read, I am a homemaker in Barrington. I have read 18 U.S.C. Section 242, which is the deprivation of constitutional rights by officers acting under color of law, and that is a federal crime. And if certain things happen during those deprivation of constitutional rights, such as a kidnapping, that elevates it to a potential life sentence or the federal death penalty. And Peter Neronha is looking at this and saying all he sees is a simple misdemeanor assault. What on earth is going on?
Have you similarly reached out to the U.S. Attorney?
No, sir, I have not. I understand that Merrick Garland has not yet been confirmed.
Well, there's a U.S. Attorney for Rhode Island is what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, sir, but he would serve the United States Attorney General. So when Merrick Garland is confirmed, then I think would be the proper time for us to present this.
And you did ask if the Attorney General was made aware, and Susannah did ask me, so I did reach out to his leadership in the civil rights activist, Mr. Keith Hoffman. So the Attorney General is aware of this petition, and he's aware that we're going to be handing it to him today.
Thanks. Anything to add?
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here
Thank you,
and
guys.
listen.
And we also ask that you take the time to watch the video and look at the petition yourselves.
What do you see when you look at the video? And just step into the mic if you would.
When I look at the video, through the tears, what I see is the total lack and disrespect for somebody's life, more than just one count. The young man that was pulled out of his car committed no crime, yet he was forcibly pulled out of his car, forcibly handcuffed, no reasoning given, no mention of arrest, as his girlfriend sit in the car screaming and crying, to the point where I believe it was more than just one officer. It was more than just Sergeant Hanley. All of them should be held for accomplices. They all looked at the girlfriend and threatened her that if she didn't shut up, not verbatim, then they were going to arrest her also. So I see this as a really big problem here in Rhode Island, number one. An extremely big problem in Providence, number two. But as an opportunity for the Attorney General to set precedents that this is not how Rhode Island wants to be. That we want to do better, and that when we see atrocities and misuse of power and misuse of justice, that we will hold people accountable and we will do something about it. Because as a police officer, your job is to uphold the law, but your job is more than my job. Right? I'm just a citizen. Yes, I'm supposed to respect the law, but I'm supposed to look up to you to lead that enforcement, to be a role model to what we're supposed to do. And I could not say that I would want to tell my 10-year-old son to be a police officer looking at the actions of Sergeant Hanley.
What does it say to you about the other police officers on the scene that nobody intervened and no one reported this action until after the video was
It says that they should all be accomplices and held accountable at the same instance as Sergeant Hanley kicking that young man in the head because of the fact that you stood by and did nothing. Silence is violence. You stood by and let your fellow officer do this to this gentleman, and you jumped in. You helped him do this to one man. So it took more than one police officer to handcuff for no crime, mind you. This young man did not commit a crime and beat a young man in front of his girlfriend. We can't stand for this.
There's two other things. One is not just what you see in the video, but what you hear in the video. So, and it's what do you see when you watch the video? Anybody can see that. And what do you hear? Anybody can hear that. And what do you feel would be the next level, right? And most people are going to have the same feeling if they watch and listen. I could not watch and listen to the video at the same time. I could only watch and then later listen. And my children who were in the house, when they came by and I was listening, I had to turn the volume down because it's so horrifying what you will hear. Some of the things that you hear are Sergeant Hanley's stating that Rashad Gore, he was speaking to him, he said, "You act like an animal, I'm going to treat you like an animal." That's not ambivalent or in any way up for question. That is absolute 100% racism. That's hateful. That's ridiculous. I have an 18-year-old son. I can guarantee you that if he was sitting in his car and he somehow got a police officer angry at him, that they would never say that to him. You hear the officer taunting Rashad Gore, And the other thing you don't hear the other officers intervening, but you also never hear any one of the officers upon approaching the car speaking to each other about what they're going to be doing. They clearly had a plan in mind when they got out of their car and approached Rashad Gore's car. There was nobody needed to say a word. There was no communication. They already knew what they were going to be doing. That's premeditated. That's unacceptable.
How's he doing, Mr. Gore?
Is that right?
How's he doing?
He's doing much better than Jamal Gonzalez, who was recently hit by a Providence police officer and was in a coma for a long period of time.
Can I just give you a little bit more background about me? So I'm a homemaker right now in Barrington, but I did work as a lawyer in North Carolina for almost 12 years at our North Carolina Attorney General's office.
Okay. What kind of work there?
I'm sorry, what?
What kind of work did you do there?
I mostly did civil litigation. I represented various state agencies, but we were all on a criminal brief rotation, so I did write some criminal briefs. But I do not currently have an active law license.
Gotcha. Well, thank you all.
Thanks for coming.
Took us a few minutes to get down the hill there.
Oh yeah, thank you.